Hi there, I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark, and we're so glad that you're joining us today for The Honest Talk.
We're excited to be bringing you conversations with some of North America's most inspiring women, and we are thrilled to be partnering with RBC as we do so.
This podcast is about leaving behind the talking points and diving into the real, authentic, and unique personal stories of our guests. Stories which we hope might influence or inspire your own journeys.
So let's get right to it. Catherine, today's guest is no stranger to making waves both inside and outside the House of Commons. Melissa Lantsman is the Member of Parliament for Thornhill and Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, and she's known for her straight talk, quick wit, and her unflagging energy.
He sure is. And before stepping into the political spotlight, Melissa was the powerhouse behind the scenes. She was shaping national conversations as a top political strategist. She was also a noted communications expert. We're going to talk to her about all of that today, but we're also looking forward to learning about Melissa beyond the politics. So here she is, Melissa Lantsman. Welcome to The Honest Talk.
Thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah, we're thrilled, actually. And it's great timing because House is about to resume. You're heading back to Ottawa, and it's going to be a super interesting and quite busy political season, I think. And we'll be hearing a lot more from you over the course of the next little bit. But I wanted to start, Jen and I wanted to rewind and get a sense of the kind of kid that you were growing up in, in your riding. What was like, how did you end up being where you are now based on what you were like as a kid?
So like two things here. One, I had what I think was a super normal childhood, which was like normal to me. My parents came to this country in the mid-70s. I was born in the mid-80s in the place that I represent now. And we grew up in like what is a normal suburban house. And we celebrated, life events and dinners, and like the door, one of those houses where the door was always open, and we went on vacations, and I played sports and I did extracurriculars. So I grew up in a really safe suburb of Toronto, which is Thornhill. And then from the other side, I was like a bit of a rebellious kid, marched to the beat of my own drum, like kind of dressed how I wanted and not how everybody else dressed. So there was that element, and I had super patient parents with anything I wanted to do, no matter how bad the idea was.
I love that. I picture a very precocious child, maybe in overalls, just, not afraid to get their hands dirty. Two questions. Did you run for student council, and did you ever imagine that you'd end up in Parliament?
So I did run for student council, but I wasn't like what I would consider today like a student council nerd. I ran in elementary school. High school is a bit more rebellious, but still very involved in extracurriculars. I did well in school, but it wasn't a primary focus. Like I did lots of other things. The same thing with university. I found university like a place where classes got in the way of all of the other things that it offered. And I've had almost the same group of friends growing up my entire life till today, with a couple of add-ons throughout the time. But I am like the product of a community that offered a whole bunch, both like in a religious community and in a in the sense of like a publicly funded community, like the city of Vaughan. So product of camps and leadership programs and anything that I can sort of sink my teeth into to figure out what I can do. And I'm also like a product of two parents that worked really hard. And I only understood afterwards the sacrifices that they made so that we could really do anything that we wanted in, what they saw as a country of promise and opportunity, no matter who you were and what you wanted to do.
I want to pick up on that because I really think that, the way you described yourself as a kid, I hope you take this the right way, but that kind of just still reminds me of who you are right now, right? You are an independent person. You are someone who, follows the path that's set out for you. So on one hand, it's got to be really neat for your parents because you tell a great story. I've heard you in speeches talk about, your parents came here and worked so hard. It's got to be really something for them to see that kid that they sacrificed a lot for your family. Now you are in Parliament. Can you talk to us a little bit about what their reaction was with your decision
Yeah,
to
look,
run?
I'll tell you this. And the reason I talk about my parents so much is particularly like a form of therapy for me and a way to like memorialize them. So I'm part of the Young Orphans Club. It's a club that nobody wants to be part of, but I've lost both my parents. My mom just before I ran the first time, and my dad between my first and second election. But the reason I tell their story is because it's the story of so many Canadians. Like they came here. My mom had a very different experience than my father. My father was an uncredentialed engineer who drove a taxi and then ended up in small business just because there was no other options. It wasn't re-going to school and getting credentialed here, 50 years ago was not a thing. And he needed to take care of my brother who he had in tow, who's a bit older than I am, and my mom went to school here, and she had a sort of a very like white collar professional existence, and for them, I think your viewers will find this funny because it's for them like they really understood the world as like they came here, they wanted me to succeed in like one of three things in their mind. So lawyer, doctor, accountant, and like maybe engineer, but like not sort of top notch. So when I told them, like when I started showing an interest in politics, which was quite young, they were like flabbergasted, not because this wasn't a noble profession to them or anything, but it just wasn't a profession at all. It wasn't something that they saw themselves in. Like my dad, I often tell this joke, my dad thinks politics is a hobby until like, you make it a job or in a lot of cases a career. But for them, it was the thing that they saw about politics was these like neo-Gothic buildings in Ottawa where long time, Canadians from noble families who named universities, like made laws. It felt so out of reach for them. So I think they were almost protecting me as like, I don't know if you want to go down this path. I don't know if we belong there. And they were sort of sheltering me, like maybe I should just think about something safer. And I was like, no. Like I'm in this. I think it's the way to, change people's lives. I think it's important that you see people that actually live in this country in the political process. And I'm going to get you addicted to this as well. And I did. And, my mother, who come from a mixed marriage, my mother was a liberal. My dad was a conservative, in 2000, it took me up until about 2006 to get her out there knocking on doors with me. And she she absolutely loved it. And I don't know if it was because of me or because she caught the bug too, or I gave her the bug.
Well, they'd be really proud, Melissa, to see their daughter, negating all safety nets that you talked about, and one of the top female politicians in our country. So you memorialize them very, very well. What was your leap from strategic communications? And we share a lot of connections in the strategic communications world, and everything I've heard about how you operated was that you were one of the top performers in the country in that field. When did you have an aha moment that, okay, I'm going to go from training and managing some top executives and politicians to I'm going to put myself front and center and run? Was there a moment?
My aha moment was like when I was a teenager. So something I wanted to, like I really wanted to do this at some point. And then, I got to serve as, as an aide in politics. I got to serve many clients in the C-suite, in the not-for-profit world. I got a whole lot of experiences, both in the public sector and in the private sector, that always were getting me ready. But I don't know that you choose your time in politics. Yeah. And I think many people will tell you that. So in my case, it was the guy before me, Peter Kent, who served our riding for 13, 14 years. with like an absolute rock star in Thornhill, decided to retire. And I just thought that if I didn't take this chance, or if I didn't take a chance on it, that one, I think somebody else would do it for a good amount of time. And that would sort of leave me with no option. So I jumped on the opportunity. I don't know if it was something that I absolutely wanted to do at the time, but it was something that I needed to, I needed to try, and I wanted to do, particularly after, after COVID, where I felt like angry, and I wanted to be a part of, if this happened the next time, I wanted to be part of doing what the opposite of what this country did, on every single measure.
I have a funny Peter Kent story, because back before Jen and I started the Honest Talk, I had a show called Beyond Politics where I talked to our elected officials about their lives outside of the political spectrum. And because it was TV, there was hair, there was makeup, and our interview with Peter Kent happened on a day when the power went out in the hotel where we did our taping, and I was mid blow dry. And he, being an old TV guy himself, was super chill. He was like, take your time, do your hair. I totally understand. So I've always
awesome.
felt great fondness for him.
Everybody's got a great Peter Kent story.
Peter Kent story, yeah. So the one thing, you really have been praised for your communication style. No surprise really, because this was your milieu for a long time. But you're super direct. You're sharp. You're occasionally unapologetic about how you phrase things. Has that always been your style, or did you have to grow into having that kind of confidence in the things that you were saying?
Yeah, look, I think if you do your homework, and your homework on the facts, and I know what I believe. I was raised with a certain set of values. I've lived in this world. I've gained experiences. Then I think it's about saying the thing that you mean, and meaning the thing that you say. Because I think that's how normal people talk to each other. And I'm a little less, talking points, and a bit more like, let's have a conversation, because I do think the amount of engagement in politics and the amount of ways that you can get in right now has all kinds of people that probably were never part of this realm now engaged. Like, this affects every facet of your life, and we are like at a crisis point in this country. So I think people are looking for a real conversation, for people to talk to them like you would in any other realm. So I don't sort of change the style of when I'm doing a podcast like this, or when I'm on the floor of the House of Commons, although I'm a little louder and I lose my cool sometimes.
Don't lose your cool on us. As one of the first, if not the first, openly gay Jewish women elected to the House of Commons, what has that representation meant to you personally? And have there been moments where you've really felt the weight of that visibility?
Look, I think it's one of the it's one of the many labels. I'm a child of immigrants. I'm successful in business. I've got a whole bunch of things that make me someone where I'm in politics, and you can see yourself in politics, and that's kind of how I treat all of the labels. But sure, it puts each and every one of those labels, and I'm not the only one to have a multiple number of labels. Everybody's got them, but I think each one of those things puts you in a line of fire with people who disagree with it one way or another. And particularly in the last couple of years in this country, being a Jewish politician hasn't been. It's not what I signed up for. But it's what has, it is what my community is terrified of, frankly. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's what communities across the country are terrified of. And I've been able to use my voice, I think, in a positive way to give people hope and some aspiration that things will change in this country. And beating the drum on it makes people in power pay attention. And, I think we've been successful on some of that, and I think there's a really, really long way to go on many other things.
I'm going to be cautious here because we are a non-political show, but we've just come through a really interesting year, basically, in Canadian politics and global politics. Your party was heavily favored to win the last federal election. That changed over the course of the election. Lots of global events impacting that too. But you're heading back now into a new season of the House, and you are still dealing with a really volatile environment. How does all of that affect you personally as a human being? Like the ups and downs, the highs and lows, that like things coming at you from 60 different ways. How does that affect you?
So I'll tell you the honest truth, since I mean, I don't know why I would be dishonest with you, but I don't think about it as much as I should, or as much as you think that I would. I'm one of these people that has sort of a long-term vision and a long-term goal, and I think many of those, including Pierre Poilievre, the leader of our party, shares that vision of this country, and it's what we are going to do to get there every sort of step of the way. I'm not somebody who thinks this is about me. Here's the honest truth. I think there are so many people there out in Canada, from every walk of life, struggling in different ways. And I think politicians are part of that, but you signed up for this, so I'm like, don't have a lot of time for that. I think my job is to be the voice for those who are struggling, for those who can't pay their bills, for those who are left out of the job market, for a problem that is 50 years old of uncredentialed new immigrants coming here and not being able to work in the scope of practice or education that they received. I think we're in an immigration crisis and a cost of living crisis and a housing crisis, and that is my primary focus. It's a little less about how it impacts me, and perhaps I probably should think about it more, but I think that it distracts me, so I compartmentalize it away, and then I don't know what happens to it, but I don't often pay attention back to it.
What advice? I love that, because I think compartmentalization is absolutely essential in any job you do. But for me, it's been a trained practice over many years. And I think a lot of women, politics, business, whatever, would benefit from that. What advice would you give somebody to kind of move out the noise and focus on your end game?
Yeah, look, I think it's a practiced skill, and you got to sort of, it's almost like you're beaten down enough times that you pick yourself up and you persevere and you sort of go and do it, and you got to figure out how to move from failure to the goal, or from failure to what you see as success. Here's the thing. I think I think many who watch this would say is like, you always get like the perfect image of women who say you can have it all, and your hair could be done, and everything is like perfect. It just doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. You can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time. And there's trade-offs. And only you can know what your trade-offs are. Only you know what isn't important to you at the time, or what is less important to you at the time. There are some things that I have in my life that are non-negotiable. There are very few, because this job doesn't allow for that. And I know exactly what I gave up and what were the trade-offs to succeed. And I think the more people recognize that, I think the easier it is to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you've definitely got a receptive audience in all of those points, in Jen and myself, because that's definitely one of the things that we talk a lot to other women about, is the fact that you can have it all. You definitely can't have it all at the same time. You can't have it all at once, like you said. But I also think that we really stress out about this idea of work-life balance. Someone asked me that recently. Melissa, and obviously Jen knows that I grew up in a political environment, and someone said to me recently, how did your dad manage work-life balance? And I literally was like, oh, but I was like, there was no such thing. No one talked about work-life balance. Like, this is a new concept. And it's one that women still haven't figured out. And so you got to do what works for you. You got to carve your own path, and you got to not worry about what other people say about that path that you choose for yourself. On that front, what do you do to stay grounded? Like what do you do in the few precious moments that you have that are not focused on work to keep yourself healthy?
I make sure that I carve out time. I think that's my answer. It doesn't always work, but it works. Like every single morning at 7:45 to 7:40 to 8 o'clock, like I spend time studying something completely outside of this realm that keeps me grounded. I try not to do things on Friday nights and spend some time at dinner at home. Like I try to get home, not just to repack my bag and change the outfits that I'm wearing that week, but to like really spend time. I find this hard. I think lots of people will find this hard. I managed to do it really well this summer, but put down your phone when you're spending time with people. But I'm the last person to give anybody advice on work-life balance. Like I know that. I think it's you've got to figure out what works for you, and you're not going to find it in a book or in a blog about what's perfect, because I don't think perfect exists.
Yeah, I don't think it exists either. And I actually hate the term because it gives the sentiment that you have to seek balance because you don't like your work. And it's like, you know what? Like work can really fuel me. And I do have a sense of identity tied to work, and that's okay too.
Yeah. This is my life's work. Like I love this, and I think it's the biggest privilege and biggest honor I will ever have. So if you don't give it 100% while you are here, there is somebody lined up to do it right after you, or kick you out of the spot. So that's like, I'm with you. I love this work. I think I will continue to love love this work. And I think the second I don't love this work is it's time to go, not seek balance.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so then I know you've just said that you're the last person to give advice, but on a particular topic. So for women who maybe from underrepresented communities, but women in general who are thinking about politics, but might still feel intimidated by it. And to be frank, Melissa, there's a lot of good reason for them to feel intimidated by it. Like there's, first of all, the workload is insane. But also you're on the road all the time, and there's way, way more pushback than there ever used to be because of social media and other platforms. So what advice do you have for these women who might feel the same calling you do, but aren't sure what to do next?
Yeah, look, for me, I can't give you advice about, overcoming that. What I can say is like, put the right people around you, make sure your family is on board, like the same way that you would raise kids, or move to another place. Like there are plenty of people around the world who move entirely to a new country, or move to a new province to seek out other opportunities if you're doing it within Canada. And you've got to put a village around you. And I think that's the thing that saved me. Admittedly, again, I probably don't think about those realities and those threats as much as I should. And it's become like a very, very rude awakening for me. I've been surrounded by RCMP at various times, and like I'm an opposition politician. Like we've never had that before outside of the of the Prime Minister. So those things are really real, and I think I've got the right village and the right mix of people around me to help me out. I've got like everybody says they have an amazing team. Like I genuinely think I have like the best team in the business, and people who are there for, I think, the right reasons.
Who's at the core of your village?
It's my family, my spouse. Again, that group of friends that I've had my entire life. Like my village hasn't changed. We've made some good additions in the last number of years. I've got an inherited family on the other side, and everybody's been, 100% supportive, a little bit too understanding when you miss things, which gives you a lot more rope than you should have. And but they also, I think, believe that it's like mission critical for us to change things, and it's like really great to have.
Yeah, and you know that if there's one thing about politics, you learn early who the people are that you can count on, and they become like your family for the rest of their natural lives.
I can't imagine how many people you've seen sort of come and go, but I think it's the ones that have been there since I guess your childhood, right through to today that you.
Right, but same for you, Melissa, right? Like there is that core group of people who you know will always be there, ups and downs. And I think to Jen's question about who's your core village, those are the people that we all need to seek out in life too. And instinctively, we know who those people are, and those are the people to keep tight.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, we have rapid fire questions.
Okay. I hate this game.
Okay.
Jen,
I'll
did you want to go
start.
first? Okay.
Yeah, we'll rotate. Okay. Do you drink coffee?
Yes. Not as
What's
much as Diet Coke.
Okay. I love Diet Coke. What's your Starbucks order or coffee order?
On the weekends, it's a vanilla latte with whip, and during the week, it's a regular coffee. Because
Like, what's a regular coffee? Like with cream
regular
and sugar?
coffee, like milk and sweetener.
Okay, good. Okay. I only say good because I had a friend tell me once that if I couldn't drink coffee black, I really shouldn't drink coffee. And I was like,
Oh,
don't take away my joy.
no longer a
That's an
friend.
unpopular opinion.
Do you fall asleep immediately on planes, or can you not sleep on planes?
Totally fall asleep on planes. Anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
It's
Where
the-
is
it's
one
the-
place?
It's the greatest gift of all.
These are rapid fire questions, Catherine. I got to rein her back in. Where is the one place you haven't been to yet and you definitely want to go?
Singapore.
Last one.
Why? Okay, Jen.
I think it's like going in. Okay, she's ruining the rapid fire. I'm not doing fine.
It's fine.
I think it's like going to be like going to the moon. Everything I've read about the people, the economy, the efficiency there. I want to see it.
Okay, last one. If you could host a dinner party with 3 women, dead or alive, who would you choose?
Oh man, this is like not rapid fire. This is like hard. I don't know. I really don't know. I want to answer this properly. So I'm going to write you this after and like actually.
Okay. And then we'll post it.
You
Yeah,
post it.
that's totally
So
fine.
stay tuned to like what my
tuned.
what my weird dinner party will look like.
A commitment has been made.
Yeah. Okay. So we're totally gonna post your 3 dead or alive.
Oh, it's
dinner
dead
guests.
or alive.
Yeah.
Yes. You have
That's super easy. I would take 20 minutes back with like my mom and both grandmothers, like easily. I would take like just if it would I'd take appetizers with them.
That's an awesome answer. Okay.
I have no
Thank you.
homework now.
No homework, none at all. You gave a great answer. Hit it out of the ballpark. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to do this. We know
Thank you
how
so
busy
much
you
for
are.
having me. I'm excited to see what everybody says, and I'm excited that you're doing this because I think there's always somebody behind the 35 seconds of yelling in the house on a daily basis.
We will only yell at you face to face like this through a screen. Promise.
Thank
you
so
for
much.
being with us.
Thanks, Melissa.
Well, that's a wrap. And to our listeners across Canada and around the world, we thank you for joining us.
You can hear The Honest Talk on iTunes, Spotify, and Simplecast, brought to you by RBC. You can also get more information on stories that matter to you at our website, thehonesttalk.ca, and sign up for our weekly newsletter where you'll get fabulous stories delivered right to your inbox.
But for now, thank you for being a part of today's podcast. Stay tuned for more great conversations and stay well.